Bienvenidos a Mexico. So I'm going to take you through Mexico, take a whistle-stop tour. But first, a little bit about myself. I was actually born in Lima, in Peru, and came to the UK, graduated in Latin American Studies, and part of that studies was a year in Medida, which I loved. I joined Journey Latin America in 1986 as a part-time tour leader, and now in the office as a full-time travel expert. Of course, other than Peru and Mexico, my favorite destinations being Brazil. My mother-in-law is Brazilian, Chile, my mother's Chilean, and of course, Ecuador and the Galapagos. That photograph actually is in Ecuador. I've yet to visit Uruguay, Guyana's, Antarctica. Though my parents say I visited Uruguay when I was 2 years old. One of the top tips I'd say for visiting Mexico, make sure you've got plenty of memory on your camera. Just loads of opportunities for taking great pictures all over the place. A quick overview about Journey Latin America. We're now 41 years old. I've been with them most of the time, and I'm pretty much acknowledged as being the Latin American experts here in the UK. Got a huge range of tailor-made and small group tours, both Latin America and the white continent of Antarctica. We've also got lots of awards, of course, being the best. The most recent being the best tour operator to Central and South America, and British Travel Awards of 2020, 2019. We hope to get it this year as well, we hope. And on FIFA Platinum Trusted Service. We've all lived there, all 10 of us. We've all lived there, worked, travelled. Some of us have even born there, and we go back regularly. If you ever call, chances are that somebody will say, I've been there, I know it, I know how to deal with it. So we've got our Tailor-Made Holidays, huge range, from 3-star, 5-star, I'd even say maybe 5-star plus accommodation. We focus mainly on cultural, bit of soft adventure, lots of wildlife depending on your destination, try and go off the beaten track, lots of expedition cruising, for example, Galapagos and Antarctica, and some great self-drive options as well. We cater for everyone from families, honeymoons, singles, couples, you name it, we can piece it together for you. Got loads of private itineraries, a lot of them were shared excursions, that'll keep the cost down a bit. We've got something like 200 different holidays on our website, 18 of which are to Mexico. And these, as we say, they're sample itineraries. We know that they're tried and tested, but if you want to try and tweak it a bit, add a bit, take something off, that's what we're here for. We've also got our small group tours. That's our new brochures just come out, available at the end of this month. We've got 2 different types of journeys. We've got a classic and a discovery. The classic being more 4 to 5 star accommodation. Discovery says 2 to 3, but I'd say 3 to 4 really. Discovery being a little bit of public transport, whereas classic is all private. We've got up to 33 tours now with 180 departures. Group size, people ask, you're looking minimum 4, we'll run with 4, with a max of 16 to 20 depending on the actual tour. But you will find on average you'll get 8 to 12. You'll be escorted by your own Journey Latin America tour leader, right from the pickup at the airport, right to the drop-off at your final destination. We also offer no single supplement for anybody that's willing to share. You can also join late, you can leave early. If there's some excursions that you want to do in the middle, you can change them. So there's lots of flexibility. If you want to add something at the end, that's easily done by us. And of course, the group tour that we've got for Mexico is our Classic Eagle, which starts in Mexico City and ends up in Cancun. You're looking at the Aztecs, the Mayas, the Conquistadores. You're looking 15 days from start to finish. Just a little introduction. I hope you like that little intro. So now a quick overview of Mexico and where we're going to be visiting. It's a huge country, about 8 times the size of the UK. If you were to get a flight from Chihuahua up in the north down to the Yucatan, you're looking at about a 3-hour flight, just to give you an idea. Huge variety of landscapes, climates, traditions. You've got the deserts and the mountains. You've got the jungles in the south. I mean, there's absolutely everything. And of course, so much coastline. You've got the Pacific beaches and the Caribbean beaches. Mexico City, huge capital, one of the great cities of the world. And of course, you've got lots of ancient culture between the Aztecs and the Mayas. Absolutely amazing. And they're really well organized. The sites are really, really well done for the people to visit. Of course, you've got the lovely small towns, little colonial towns, silver cities, and the old haciendas. Last but not least, one of my favorite things when I was living there was the amazing food that you get in Mexico. Really good variety from region to region. Many people ask, say, well, when shall I go? It's pretty much year round with a few regional differences. The main one I'd say is up north in Baja California. That's probably December through to March. It's cooler other times, and their summer or our summer it can be really hot. But the main reason for going there is to watch the whales. That's when they're there. So best go December through to March. Rainy season, I suppose you'd say, is May through to October. It's still good to go. I mean, you probably get a downpour or two. It will be hotter, there will be high humidity, the coastal areas will be warmer, but it's not so to say don't go. But it is also very busy over the Christmas period, particularly December, January, and our summer holidays. So if you are thinking of those times of year, book well in advance. For me, I'd say February, March, April, that would be the ideal time to go. If you've got flexibility, you can go anytime really. And don't forget, Day of the Dead. It's a great celebration, and that's the 1st and 2nd of November. There's something for everyone here in Mexico. I mean, indigenous life, villages, markets, the landscape, as I mentioned, mountains, tropical desert, loads of beautiful coastline, and there's culture wherever you look, past, present, there's everything there. And of course, not to forget the food. Or the drink, have a tequila if you wish. And the accommodation there is second to none. You've got luxurious haciendas and small boutique hotels. Makes it also perfect for honeymooners. Also makes it a really good family-friendly destination. I'd say it's really safe, really educational. There's loads to do for the kids. You can go snorkeling. I mentioned before you can go with the whale sharks. Kids love climbing the ancient pyramids as well. So it's great for everyone. And also you've got the convenience of direct flights both to Mexico City and Cancun. Not too many overland journeys, probably the longest, and I'll go that into more detail later, from Oaxaca down to the ruins of Palenque. And it also makes a really good self-drive destination, particularly Baja California and the Yucatan Peninsula. Everywhere we go, we've got excellent hotels and really good family resorts. So I mentioned you've got direct flights, British Airways and Aeromexico to Mexico City from Heathrow, or you can fly to Cancun in the Yucatan Peninsula with BA from Gatwick. 11.5 to Mexico City, 10.5 to Cancun. But you've also got the choice of loads of regional departures from the UK, namely with people like Air France KLM. So if you want to fly from Manchester, from Edinburgh, from Aberdeen, say, that's absolutely flying. And finally, you've got the option of flying via the USA. They serve numerous destinations within Mexico. So, for example, if you want to fly straight to Chihuahua in the north, you don't have to go via Mexico City. And when you're getting around, you've got the Aeromexico brand, which is the main carrier within there. We offer private transfers throughout if you wish, but the road network is pretty good as well. Also, as I say, we've got lots of car hire friendly destinations, but one top tip is when you get on a local bus, and they're really comfortable, don't forget your sweater. They love putting on their air conditioning full whack. You'll probably get a loud film as well, so don't forget your earplugs. So our first point of entry would be Mexico City. I'd say allow at least 2 to 3 days. And the museums there, second to none. The Anthropological Museum. In fact, the Anthropological Museum, they say you need 2 days to visit that one alone. and of course the archaeological sites nearby, namely Teotihuacan. As far as accommodation, you can either stay close to the historical centre. A couple of the hotels we use are right on the centre, on the Zócalo. You can stay in the trendy Zona Rosa or the upmarket district of Polanco. To give you an idea, Zona Rosa or Polanco to the historical centre by car, you're going to be looking at a journey of at least 45 minutes. That's why I like staying in the historical centre. The main square, one of the biggest squares in Latin America, you've got the National Palace and the sinking cathedral. Yep, the cathedral really is sinking, because the whole city was built on an old lake of Tenochtitlan. You've got the Theatre of Fine Arts, the Bellas Artes, with a great folkloric show about twice a week, I believe it is. You can go and visit Frida Kahlo's Casa Azul in the north, together with the leafy Coyoacán district. One of my favourite ones is actually the floating gardens of Sochi, Miliko. If you can, go on a Sunday. You've got these little boats that go around with families, with couples, with oldies, with young ones, boats with food, boats with drink, boats with mariachis serenading the young ones. It's absolutely great. Another great attraction for Mexico City is the wonderful street food that they've got there. So what can you do from Mexico City? Well, the main attractions being Teotihuacan, huge pyramid, probably bigger than the pyramids in Egypt. It's about an hour and a half's drive from Mexico City, usually combined with the Lady of Guadalupe's shrine. Also got the colonial and colourful town of Puebla, about 2 hours from Mexico City. It's home to the mole poblano, famous local dish made with chilies and chocolate. Yep, yeah, that chilies and chocolate. It's lovely. It's really tasty. You venture out to a little lone site of Tula with the huge, big monoliths of the warriors, or if not, the Great Pyramid of Cholula. It just looks like a big hill. I mean, it is a big hill, but a man-made hill with a church on top. And south of Mexico City, you've got the Silver City of Tasco, and again mentioning the monarch butterflies. They descend into just northwest of Mexico City in their literally millions between December and March. Our next point of call is going to be the colonial and silver towns, mainly based northwest of Mexico City. Lovely towns, Baroque churches. They love their sort of pastel-coloured walls and everything. It's absolutely brilliant. If we start with the north, in Guanajuato, is a university city, so it is really lively. Then you've got San Miguel de Allende, really arty. It's a real magnet for artists, and loads of lovely galleries and museums and everything. Morelia is probably closest to where you get for the butterflies. Great colonial architecture. And finally, Queretaro, most known for its colonial aqueduct. So as I mentioned on the map previously, you've got Pátzcuaro. That's probably the center of the Day of the Dead celebrations. It is celebrated throughout Mexico, particularly in Oaxaca as well, but that is the sort of like spiritual home. We've also got the fishing community of San Janitzio, which is really nice to go to. But we find the best way to see these towns is walking. Don't want to get in a van to be driven around and dropped off, get in the van and get dropped off. Just walk around, take it all in, pop into galleries, pop into museums. It's absolutely brilliant. As I say, Morelia, to the northwest, December to March, you can go and witness the amazing monarch butterfly migration that come down from the USA. And San Miguel de Allende, lovely cobbled street, and again, another one of the many UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Mexico. I'm going to say this again, yep, markets and food. I just love them. So the main picture here, we've got the university city of Guanajuato. We've got the little island of San Janitzio. You can't go to Mexico without going to a cantina and have a cerveza. And one of the most amazing ones, actually not far away, is the Edward James Gardens. They're real surrealist gardens. I think someone like Salvador Dali wouldn't know where he was if he went there. Now we're going to head up north to the Copper Canyon. We find it's best to go from Chihuahua in the north and then head towards the coast to the town of Los Mochis. The train actually stops close by a small village called El Fuerte. You can do it the other way around, but we think through experience it's best to do it Chihuahua to Los Mochis. But it's much more than just a train journey. You can do it in 3 to 4 days. You don't sleep on the train. You have journeys 4 hours, 5 hours each day. But then it's also really good just to stop off at some of the villages and stay a couple of nights. Namely at somewhere like Barrancas, for example. The hotel there is absolutely amazing for its views. In fact, it was voted by Condé Nast as being in the top 10 hotels with vistas. Absolutely dramatic landscape, absolutely amazing. And there's loads to do there as well. Cable cars, hanging bridges. You like adrenaline, try a bit of zip lining. You've also got the culture of the Tarahumara Indians. They're the famous ones for running really long distances. The only little snag with the Copper Canyon is that it does run with a bit of an erratic schedule. That's where you benefit with booking through someone like Journey Latin America. There you go. You've got I've got pictures of the zip lines, but the hanging bridges, you've got to have head fights there. Little villages with little churches, amazing rock formations. There's one rock formation that's so huge, it's called the Elephant Rock. But it's great just to spend a couple of days and take part in these activities rather than do just the journey in one go. So the train that we prefer is a train called El Chepe, the Chepe Express. So you start from the town of Chihuahua, and it's a really comfortable journey. I mean, you've got nice dining cars, and you've got nice viewing cars. Most of the time, you actually be spending right stuck to your window, taking in all the views. But it is a very, very comfortable experience. Next on from there, we'll head to Baja California. Now, we would have just finished, if you've been on the Copper Canyon, you'd have finished just here at Los Mochis, and you can either fly from there to the town of La Paz, or if you don't go to the Copper Canyon, you can just go straight from Mexico City. Again, much more of a desert, stark landscape, canyons, cacti, absolutely amazing. And really good for self-driving because the roads are just so straight. Just watch your speed, that's the only thing, but the roads are easy to get around. The main attraction here, as I mentioned earlier on, would be from December, January through to March, where you get the blue and grey whales. You get the blue whales, which are much shyer, so much more difficult to spot, within the Bay of California. So you get the blue whales here in Loreto, whereas you get the grey whales either in the north, in the Bay of San Ignacio, or in the Bay of Magdalena. If you have got time, you can travel that little bit further, go to San Ignacio. Much less people there, I should say. Another great attraction here is the kayaking. We've got a great kayaking trip going around Espiritu Santo Island. It's a deserted island, nobody lives there. You go around it, you camp on a different beach each night. Absolutely amazing skies, absolutely great. And of course, you've got lovely little colonial towns, such as San Jose del Cabo, you've got Loreto, or right in the north, you've got San Ignacio. So crystal clear waters. And the blue whales, the grey whales, I should say, really actually just come up so close to the boats. It's absolutely incredible. And they're just so curious. The blue whales, a little bit more difficult to spot. You just have to be a bit more patient. But again, look at that road. You can't go wrong with that with the self-drive option. And the little towns, that one is San Jose del Cabo. There we've got a nice blue breaching village, the church on top, that's in San Ignacio. And we do also have a glamping option where you stay in a really comfortable tent and go out kayaking, but back to the same glamping place on the way back. Our next destination is we're going to head south towards Oaxaca. A lot of people say it's Oaxaca, Oaxaca. And again, I'd say at least 2 to 3 nights. You can either fly, there are many direct flights from Mexico City. US carriers fly from to Oaxaca as well. So if you want to go straight there, you can do that. Or if not, what a lot of people like to do is actually go from Mexico City to Puebla, which is about 2 hours, spend a night or two in Puebla, and then overland to Oaxaca, which is about a further 4 hours. It makes a great combination in that respect. It's a lovely, relaxing colonial city. The main square is all closed off to traffic, really leafy, lovely big trees, loads of cafes, restaurants, and bars all around. It's really great. I mean, there's loads going on, loads of colonial features, loads of fiestas, loads of rituals. One of the big ones, of course, that I mentioned before is the Day of the Dead. Main sites to visit outside Oaxaca, you've got places like Montalban. Montalban is just outside Oaxaca. It's only about 15-20 minute drive, if that. And then further along, you've got the lovely little sites, exquisite carvings of Mitla and Yaguhu. I've said it before, but I'd say Oaxaca the market is probably one of my best. Lovely food, great food. Another option to venture further out is to go on a hike to what is known as the Pueblos Mancomunados. 2-3 nights, and you really get into the heart of the Zapotec culture, staying in simple inns, but really nice landscape as well. So there on the left, we've got the ruins of Montalban. That was the ancient capital of the Zapotec culture. Smaller sites of Yagul, Mitla, and also in Oaxaca, we offer cooking courses, market visit, and mezcal tasting. Mezcal, they say, is the younger brother of tequila. I prefer the mezcal, actually, particularly the one with the worm in it. Another local delicacy are the chapulines. Yep, deep fried grasshoppers. Can't go amiss with a nice cold beer such as a Corona. And of course, as I mentioned, the Day of the Dead celebrations. This is the sort of landscape that you'd see when you're hiking around the Pueblos Mancomunados. So wonderful food, mind the chilies, Day of the Dead, I mean the selection there. And this is the agave cactus, which is what the, sorry about that, that's the agave cactus, which is what they make the mezcal out of. And that's Santo Domingo, a great church and a wonderful museum inside as well. Our next port of call is going to be Chiapas. Chiapas is the center of a much more Mayan culture. Now you can either journey overland from Oaxaca, which I've marked on the left, to the town of Tuxtla. 10-hour overnight bus journey? No thanks. So you fly. Close by is a lovely colonial town of San Cristobal De Las Casas. And from there, what we recommend is visit the Sumidero Canyon. From San Cristobal, you continue on to Palenque. So as I say, you fly to Tuxtla. There's no airport in San Cristobal. The canyon, I mean, yes, another canyon. I mean, there's few of them in Mexico, but the Sumidero Canyon is absolutely amazing, teeming with wildlife, with bird life. You've got egrets. What else have you got? I mean, you've got all sorts, and you've got loads of crocodiles there as well. So a very Mayan feel now, very different to Oaxaca or the north of Mexico where we've been, much more of a Mayan feel. So it's a very tranquil, lovely colonial town. And you've got lots of very traditional villages, places like San Juan Chamula and Sinacantan. They're also like a short drive away from San Cristobal itself. So San Juan Chamula, I said at the beginning, make sure you've got your camera with plenty of memory. Just put your camera away in this town because they don't like having their pictures taken. It takes their soul away. So just take care with that. Ubiquitous within Mexico are, of course, the old Beatles. But this place is also really famed for its lovely, colourful and wonderful textiles. Our next journey will be from San Cristobal in the mountains down to the lowlands in Palenque. Probably one of the longer journeys in may endure, 5 to 6 hours, with stops, of course. But absolutely wonderful mountain views, and then as you get down further down, more into the jungle scenery. One of the most amazing cascades I've ever seen is Agua Azul. It's about 8 to 10 kilometers, I believe, something like that. These just amazing turquoise blue cascades. Shamefully, not really suitable for swimming there. Another great place where you can go for a dip is just a big drop, 35 meters of Misolha into a big pool. It's actually featured with Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Predator. Palenque. Oh, wow, what can I say about Palenque? A marvelous site, and one of my favorites in Mexico, I must say. Give yourselves a couple of nights here because it's a big site, enveloped in jungle, lovely structures. You've got the Temple of the Inscriptions, you've got the palace with its tower. I mean, absolutely. And you start wandering off into the jungle, and half of them are still covered in jungle. They love the way they've done that they excavate some, but then let the jungle grow back onto them. It really gives you a feel of exploration. Another two amazing sites, if you're really into the archaeological site, is go to Yachilan, overlooking the Usumacinta River, and a bit further afield, beautiful site of Bonampak, famed for its multi-coloured murals. You can still go there and see the murals in yourself. So really lush tropical jungle. It's big, so take it easy when you're visiting the site of Palenque. Again, another sort of big site of view of Agua Azul. Continuing on from there, probably best to go to the town of Villahermosa. You're looking at about 2 to 3 hours, and then a 2-hour flight to Medida. What I'd recommend is always stop at the Parque La Venta. They've got these huge Olmec heads. It's a picture when they were discovered in the 40s. A chap called, I think it was Danish, Eric von Daniken says, well, there you go, aliens do exist. The other option, quite a long journey, is to go overland to Campeche. Next port of call will be the Yucatan. So we've been in Palenque. Most people would then, as I say, go to Villahermosa and fly to Medida, or you can go overland to Campeche. Yucatan's pretty much flat as a pancake. You get these hills just south of Medida called the Puc Hills, but they really are just little hills. One of the great things about the Yucatan is they've got these cenotes, freshwater sinkholes. They are just wonderful in the heat for a nice, refreshing dip. The main points of interest, archaeologically speaking, would be Uxmal and Chichen Itza. You also get a flamingo colony close to Medida. And again, this whole area is great for car hire. You have a great itinerary that actually starts in Cancun, goes to Medida, down to Campeche, along to Calakmul, which I'll come on to, and then you end up on the beach on the Riviera Maya. I'll start with Campeche because that's the one that's closer to Palenque, but a wonderful walled city. Again, UNESCO World Heritage Site. Lovely old buildings. They love their pastel colours, as I was saying. Wonderful facades. It's just lovely just to wander around. And there you've got a few of the mariachis wandering down with their guitars. There's also a lovely promenade on the waterfront and just to stroll along at sunset. Close by is a lovely little place which I really like, Mayan site of Itzna. Really peaceful. Very few people go there. Chances are that you might have it to yourself. Further afield from Campeche, and this comes into the self-drive option. You head south and then sort of smaller sites, a place called Xcujil, Chicana, Becan, but then the big one, the majestic one, is Calakmul. I remember when I went there, when I was studying with a group of archaeologists, we were camping out and I was checking out some sites, and then suddenly in the distance somebody would cry, "Found another one!" Everybody would run along, "Whoop, another pyramid!" And then in the distance on the other side, "Found another one!" Just incredible, absolutely awesome. Not only is it that for the archaeological side, but really good for wildlife. Toucans, parrots, macaws. If you're really lucky, you might see a jaguar. You might see the jaguar paws. Prints, sorry. Then you can continue on to the Riviera Maya from there. On to Medida, which is where I spent a good part of my student life. Lovely town, I really like it, really love the people, so gentle, so kind. And it used to be known as the Paris of the New World. Got its wealth from the cactus fibers, the sisal, and for many years it was completely isolated from the rest of Mexico. So it does feel very, very different. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, Baroque churches, opulent mansions, crumbling buildings, and of course, together with Oaxaca, I'd say, market in Medida is one of my favorite. And something like 3 or 4 times a week, they'll have these lovely little folk shows, either in a plaza, on a little park, on a square just down the road, all dressed up in their lovely huipiles and their white and beautifully coloured dresses. Absolutely stunning, can't miss that. So from Medida, one of the main sites there, just to the south, is the site of Uxmal. This is the temple of the magician. If you have got the chance, they do amazing light and sound show. And if you do that in the evening, before you visit the site on the day, it's absolutely phenomenal. Because you just see these pyramids suddenly appearing out of nowhere in the darkness. They light up. There's another one. There's another. It's absolutely amazing. Also nearby, you've got what is known as the Puk route with smaller structures, but really, really good to visit. And again, much less visited. You've got ancient sisal haciendas and these amazing cenotes, the sinkholes to swim in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We also have a really good walking street food tour. I love one of my favorite dishes there in Medida would be a dish called a pork chuk. Yes, pork chop, but just careful with the chilies, they can be hot. As I mentioned, they've got the flamingo colony just north of Medida, and that's best from September through to March. I haven't mentioned much, if anything, regarding accommodation in Mexico. There's so much. I mean, there's from 5-star plus hotels to nice or like little homely run boutique hotels. But one thing I must mention are these most beautiful converted haciendas. Beautifully restored, really, really comfortable. I mean, luxury, some of them, real true luxury. They're actually within striking distance of maybe an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. In the heat, those pools are really inviting. And they also offer spas, meditation, yoga. Not at all, but some they offer these nice relaxation therapies. But they're actually stunning properties. Got places like Santa Rosa, stayed there a few years ago with my wife. Got Temoson, which is quite close to Medida. And then the one on the top left, that's the one actually quite close to Campeche. Our next protocol will be going from Medida to the Riviera Maya, which is a coastline along the Caribbean side of the Yucatan Peninsula. You can do it in a day with stopping in Chichen Itza and then continuing straight on, but it's too rushed. Always have a night at Chichen. There's some very good properties just outside the actual site. So what we suggest is go from Medida, have a guided tour of the site, and revisit the following morning. Yes, it opens at 6 a.m., but you get the dawn chorus, it's much cooler, and there's very few people. It's really great way to experience it. From there, you're looking at about another 3 to 4 hours to the Riviera Maya. What can I say? I mean, the beaches there, Caribbean beaches, turquoise seas, just absolutely stunning. I mean, really family friendly. Again, self-drive is great for it. I've got a whole selection of properties, first-class hotels, small boutique establishments, you name it, we can cater for it. I do remember when I first went there, I was walking through the jungle and I could see this is after getting the overnight bus from Medida. And then I saw the turquoise seas and I said to my, that's not real colour. That colour only appears in National Geographic. And my mate Phil said, well, no, it is real. It was absolutely stunning. So you've got lovely little secluded resorts, lively towns. Playa del Carmen's quite lively. Accommodation is much quieter. So it's absolutely great for everyone. One of my favourite places, I must say, is you head north to the car-free island of Holbox. Holbox is where you go do some more snorkeling. We can do that throughout the Riviera Maya, but swim with the whale sharks. If you're there from June through to September, chances are you'll be able to encounter them. It's absolutely brilliant. And there are lots of places that, again, offer yoga and places for well-being. Great for families as well. I mean, it's so nice being on the island of Holbox, no cars, you just cycle around. It's absolutely brilliant. Last but not least, so much to cover, but there's a huge coastline of the Pacific side in the Riviera and Nayarit. You've got the colonial towns, more of a city now, maybe Puerto Vallarta, smaller settlement of Zihuatanejo, the gorgeous bays of Huatulco, and if you really want to delve into a bit of history, you can stay at Casa Kimberly, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton's former love nest. Now you've been to Mexico. Where else can you go from Mexico? Cuba, that's a short flight away from either Cancun or from Mexico City. And of course, steeped in history, the colonial architecture, we love their old cars, the tobacco, the music, the rum, the dance, and you name it. It is a brilliant destination and super friendly as well. Just south, you've got the Mayan center of Guatemala. Absolutely beautiful. Again, majestic ruins such as Tikal, amazing markets, really, really authentic. The traditions that just go on and on and on. If you're into your diving, your beaches, your snorkeling, go to the English-speaking Belize. Picture there is of the Blue Hole, made famous by Jacques Cousteau. Absolutely amazing for diving. And of course, I've got to mention Peru. You get direct flights from Mexico City and from Cancun. So if you want more culture and more ruins, come to my home country. So, traveling with us, Journey Latin America, got full financial protection, so absolute peace of mind. Current conditions, we've got really good flexible booking policy. You're up to date with your travel expert, helping you right until you fly. We also have really good responsible holidays, environmentally and socially. And our local partners that we choose, it's not just the price, but we select them on quality. Our clients come back and say, that was a really good guide. He was a really good driver. I loved it. So it's what we know that works right for our clients. If it doesn't work, we've got a 24-hour emergency number. And that is always staffed by our managers who know the ground and our providers through and through. Got a wonderful high quality documents pack and a great travel app to make your holiday easy. Here we go, let's have a look.
Journey Latin America's travel app makes travel easy. It's simple to use, saves time, and provides you with all your important travel information and local contact numbers in one place, both on and offline. So now you can let the excitement build as you count down the days to your holiday and have a last-minute check on the weather to see what to pack. Scroll through your day-by-day itinerary to see what exciting places and activities are in store, and share your login with friends and family so they can keep track of your trip. Stay one step ahead at the airport with live flight info, schedule changes, and boarding notifications straight to your smartphone or tablet device. On arrival, browse the list of recommendations and begin exploring the restaurants, museums, cafes, bars, and places of interest that come personally recommended by Journey Latin America's clients. Don't worry about getting lost on the way there, as you'll have access to offline maps so you can navigate the streets just like a local. After seeing the sights, make trip notes and share all your memories with friends and family using our digital diary. The Journey Latin America travel app. Travel made easy.
Okay, so we hope to hear from you. Our phones are always open. If you like Zoom, we can do a video consultation. You can go to our live chat on our website, or just send us an email at tours@journeylatinamerica.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed that evening. Now it's time for a tequila.
That's great, Chris. Thank you very much for that really inspiring trip around Mexico. I have to say, it really brought back my memories. That was my first and last family holiday with my kids, who absolutely loved it at the time. Unfortunately, he was probably only about I think he was 10 months old at the time, so he doesn't really remember it, but we had an amazing time. But yeah, so thank you, and thank you to those who asked, sent some questions through on the Q&A tab. We've got a good sort of 10-15 minutes if you haven't asked any questions that you wanted to ask, so please do send them through on that Q&A. So I'm going to introduce Hannah and Jess, who you can see here as well. So as I mentioned earlier, Hannah is one of the travel experts like Chris, based here in London with great travel experience in Mexico, and Jess is based in Mexico City. Lucky her, she was telling us earlier that it's nice and sunny outside. So I'm going to put the first question to you, Jess, if I may. So someone has asked what festivals you would recommend in Mexico, and where in particular for Day of the Dead. So what would you tell us about that, Jess?
Well, Day of the Dead is really celebrated everywhere because it's something that everybody feels. They want to go and visit their dead, so that is throughout Mexico. But where they make a real big festival really is in Oaxaca. I've also answered this in the questions and answers by chat. Literally, JLA has a tour that visits many places, including the cemeteries as well. So you can actually, because the best way to witness this is on a cemetery. And it sounds a bit strange to want to do a festival on a cemetery, but this is where it all really takes place. So JLA's got a lovely tour that visits, for instance, Oaxaca, where loads of stalls and music and people are all dressed up. It's like carnival almost, or Halloween, but done the proper way. And then little places around Oaxaca that you visit as well, so that you could visit the cemeteries and actually be part of it yourself, because that's what it's really about. It's really great.
Excellent. I've thanks for that answer, Jess. I've never been there for Day of the Dead, but I love the all the folkloric related art. Obviously, the posadas engravings have always really kind of inspired me. I got a really lovely book by Posadas when I last went to Mexico. So one day, Day of the Dead, maybe when my son's a bit older than 10 months old. So I can see another couple of questions come through here. So we have a question here asking stating how amazing Mexico sounds, but a question about how safe it is, because of course it does get some bad press on the news channels related to gangs and narco activity. So Hannah, what would you like to say about that?
I'd say on the whole that all the main tourist areas that Chris has gone over are actually pretty safe. We have a lot of people going to Mexico kind of year round, and we've never had anyone have any problems with it. The kind of main drug problems and gangs tend to be quite a bit in the north, outside of the main tourist areas, kind of towards the US border. It's not an area that anyone would ever actually go to in a tourist capacity. We find that people, even wander around Mexico City, it's absolutely fine. You've obviously got to be aware and pay attention in certain areas, but on the whole, all the areas that Chris has mentioned are perfectly safe. I did a trip there a couple of years ago, kind of going down from Mexico all the way around to the Yucatan. We did a self-drive trip as well, and even that was perfectly fine. So I, as a tourist, wouldn't have any concerns about traveling there myself.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I would never have gone to anywhere that I felt was remotely risky with my son a few years ago. And like you say, there is bad, there are bad things going on in Mexico in the same way there are in many parts of the world. But like you say, it's confined to areas that are really a long way from where tourists go. And so yeah, particularly having us organise it for you and being able to give you guidance as to how to make the most out of your holiday to Mexico. Really, you needn't have concerns on that sad sort of facet of life in Mexico, or in some parts of Mexico. So we had another question here, which I might answer actually, which is what are the current travel restrictions for visiting Mexico right now? So obviously it's an exciting time, 17th of May. Travel is no longer illegal, which I mean, it's amazing that it, to think that it has been illegal. However, Mexico and indeed much of Latin America is still on the red or amber list. So the answer to what are the current travel arrangements are that you can't currently go. However, we expect the list to change. Obviously, the government are doing their review every 3 weeks, and we do expect places across the world to start joining, going from red to amber and amber to green. unfortunately, we haven't got a crystal ball, so we can't say when the different destinations in Latin America will hit green, but we're pretty confident that that many destinations, perhaps including Mexico, should make the list in 2022. We have some people who are desperate to get away, who know exactly where they want to go, and if that's the case, we are accepting bookings from the 1st of August onwards. And of course, with our flexibility policy, if someone does organise a holiday with us to a destination that remains red, then of course, well, there are various choices, including postponement or refunds, but we'll do our best. But I think realistically, Mexico is probably more towards the latter end of 2021, going into 2022. So I've got another question here. What are the daylight hours and temperatures in Mexico City and Yucatan in February or March? I'm useless with temperatures. I just know whether I'm too hot or too cold. So I might pass this on to either Jess or Hannah.
I'm here now in Mexico City. It's lovely and sunny. The question was between February and March. So that was about a month ago. It gets really quite hot towards in Mexico City, but as well in Yucatan. Yucatan obviously is on the other side of Mexico to where I am. Yucatan and Mexico City, both that time of year gets really quite hot. So they get out of winter and straight into summer. And it's the time just before the rainy season, as they call it, and it starts to build up. So it gets quite warm, but that's also what you probably want. Yucatan is fantastic to visit around that time. Chris had already mentioned it before for many reasons. And Mexico City, well, basically year round, the temperatures are quite good. I think February, March, we're talking, the temperature can rise up to 28, 30 degrees Celsius. So that could be hot, but at night it's nice and cool. So that's great.
Thank you, Jess.
Okay.
And another question that's come in here, Chris obviously talked a lot about the foods. I don't think that's particular to Chris, actually. I think anyone that goes to Mexico is absolutely blown away by the freshness of the produce, and particularly in recent years, the kind of inventive twists on traditional dishes. So someone has asked how it is, how vegetarians might cope in Mexico. I might add on the question about vegans as well. Veganism obviously is increasingly popular. So what would you say about vegetarian, vegan eating in Mexico?
There seems to be quite a wide range of foods to suit everybody. I mean, obviously, I say this in Latin America in general, kind of meat tends to dominate quite a lot of the dishes, but Mexico's got a lot of dishes with obviously the beans, fresh avocados, cheeses, mushrooms, all kinds of things. So for the vegetarians, I think it's actually quite easy to get suitable food. Vegans, I'm not quite so sure, but I'm sure you'll find something. But for vegetarians, there shouldn't be any problem anywhere. Another thing that people always say about Mexico is if you're gluten free, because everything's made out of corn, you don't have the problems you do everywhere else with wheat, because there's a lot of corn-based meals. So it's also quite good for anyone suffering from like any celiac. So, but yeah, wide range of really delicious foods, and they're very willing to cater to any kind of dietary requirements. So really not a problem to find excellent fresh food.
Great, thanks. Actually, my girlfriend is celiac, and she loved Mexico precisely for that reason. She didn't have to bring up the fact that she was allergic to tortillas, as she has got used to traveling Latin America with bread. So, great. Just checking the time. So we've got another couple of minutes. We've got another question that's just come through here. Let me have a look. Well, this question is, how is Mexico coping with COVID? I think, Jessica, you're probably best placed to answer this. What is life like in Mexico City at the moment?
Yes, it's been pretty open. They've been taking measurements. So, as in, like, if you go to a restaurant, you can actually now go to a restaurant, sit on a little terrace outside if you want, and there will be always space between your table and the next table. So, in that sense, it's been great actually to be in Mexico during the pandemic for myself living here, as you can still go shopping and shops are open, etc. But everybody, I think, because of previous things that happened, people are quite used to use hand gel and face masks and things like that and keep distance. So for Mexicans, it was quite easy to adapt to this new normal, as you can call it these days. And it's, well, they're sort of on the same level of vaccinations as the rest of Europe, more or less, like Netherlands, my country where I'm from. They're on a similar rate, more or less 12% of the population has been vaccinated, and it's all, you know, moving just like in Europe, I should say. So yeah, it's been comfortable.
Great, thanks, Jess. Let me just see if so I'm not very used to this this format. I can't see any questions there, but one came through earlier, which was how long do you need in Mexico to see the main highlights? It's a huge country. What do you think, Hannah?
I'd say a good 2 weeks to kind of hit the main highlights, I'd say. I think given the distances involved, going for much less than 10 days would be kind of pushing it a bit. But I think you can probably, you know, hit the main sites of Mexico City, Oaxaca, Palenque, and a bit of the Yucatan comfortably in 2 weeks without rushing. I'd say on the whole, when we put an itinerary together, we try and avoid doing lots of one-night stops. We don't want to rush people. You never get a feel for a place if you're constantly moving on. So, you know, ideally 2 or 3 nights in each place to kind of get a good feel for it. But 2 weeks would be sufficient. If you're going to just the Yucatan, I'd say you could potentially do it in 10 days. But yeah, 2 weeks, if you've got more, there's so much to see. You can always see more. So, you know, 2 weeks plus, I'd say.
Great, that's fantastic. So I think that's answered all the questions that I can see. And so unlike when I've done the webinars and have talked for far too long, it's great that we've had time for the Q&A there. This webinar it's being recorded, and so we will make it available should you want to watch it again or share it with any family or friends. A few other sort of very specific questions have come through, so we will respond to those probably overnight. But do please get in touch with us if you have any other questions, or you know, if you're chomping at the bit to you know, to put some plans into place, then you know, all of Journey Latin America will be, you know, very ready to help you do that. So so once again, thank you very much, Chris. That was brilliant. Took me straight back to a country I love. And thanks, Jess, and Hannah as well for your input. And have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks guys.